Alrighty, welcome to another one of my videos. Now, you'll probably notice this logo. At least I hope you wouldn't, otherwise you're blind. In which case, I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't be here. Continuing, it is indeed Dynam, and it is the Hawk Sky. I've had this plane for a while, about a month and a half, around that amount of time. And I thought now that I've had it for a pretty good amount of time that I should probably give it a review. First off, you'll notice a few things that are out of the ordinary, but we'll touch on them later. For those of you that don't know, the Dynam Hawk Sky is a powered RC glider. 1,370mm wingspan. It's roughly about a meter and under a half. So about 4-ish feet. Pretty big. And from wingtip to wingtip, as you can see, here's my hand. It's not a... it's a very long plane. It's longer than my arm. Anywho, as far as RC gliders go, it's not too bad. It is made out of EPO foam, which is a very tough, but also, I guess you would say, elastic. It absorbs impacts very easily. It springs back, but it's also very rigid at the same time. So it's the perfect material to make things like airframes out of. This plane, as I mentioned before, is a powered glider. I already mentioned the wingspan. It is a 4-channel airplane, meaning you get your ailerons, your elevator, and your rudder. Now, I did buy mine ready to fly because this is my first plane. It's my first and currently only plane. So you see the RTF transmitters over there next to the multimeter, and we'll touch on that too. Now, the battery that comes with this is an 1800 milliamp hour 3-cell 15C LiPo or lithium polymer pack. That'll get you flying for about 20 minutes. It's really it's a good starting battery pack, and it's light enough to glide very well. Now, obviously not the best. You can get lighter ones. I know people who put 1200 milliamp hour packs in here and they just glide forever. However, I like a bit more flight time as opposed to gliding. It still glides very well with what it comes with. Now, what you have here are the 4mm, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. You've got your banana style battery plug. Of course, you can attach another one of your own, especially with how much battery lead they give you. You've got your 7-channel Dynam receiver. It is a 2-antenna airplane and helicopter style receiver. Obviously, no gyroscope built in, but you really don't need one. Now, all the servos on this thing are pre-installed. Your rudder one is already pre-installed into the body. Your elevator servo is as well. And both your aileron servos are completely attached. All the push rods and control horns are already installed. For these guys, the wires run, and it's attached here. But to the back of the airplane, you do need to attach them and insert and glue the control horns. Now, the motor is an 1800 kilovolt, and it pulls about 8 amps outrunner motor. Now, it is on bearings, but mine have blown apart. I'm waiting for a new motor, a little bit more powerful, but not too much. A new ESC, a new motor, new receiver, a new radio. So I'm going to start getting into bigger, better planes. Now, I got mine for $139.94 shipped to my door. That was with the battery, receiver, controller, transmitter, the plane itself, motor, and electronics. That was fully ready to fly. Now, the one thing that I didn't like, well, there were a few. One, the instruction manual. I would say if you have no experience with RC at all, you should probably check with an experienced hobbyist, because unless you're really good at reading English, yeah, it's a mix of Chinese and English, you probably are going to have a problem with the manual. I didn't. I have enough RC products and from other products that I can read English pretty darn well now. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. It's a bad thing for companies because they should just have an English translator for crying out loud. Anywho, I didn't like the manual all that much, but that's not much to complain about because a lot of planes come that way. The other thing I didn't like was the motor wires. Running them from the motor itself down through here, through the fuselage, and down into, I guess you would call it, the main cabin. That was a bit of a pain because they don't really give you enough wire, or enough room, rather, to stuff all that wire in there. There's not a whole lot of room between here and here. And as you can see, it's not very thin here. It's even thinner underneath. You have to stuff about 6 inches on each wire into that little space. It doesn't work well. I actually ended up pushing mine back up through here and into this bulb. Now, continuing onward. For flight performance, I would have to say, this is an incredibly smooth flying, forgiving plane. I mean, this is incredibly smooth. I've flown in 18-mile-an-hour winds, but I wouldn't recommend flying in any higher wind than that, because at that point, if you're under stock power system like I was, you can just barely make forward movement. And if you get rid of throttle, you actually start, I guess you would say, stalling backwards. You can actually still stay, it is flying backwards. I can't remember the term for it. I remember we did it flying up from Ohio, and that was fun. Anywho, here we are, back to this play before I get too sidetracked here. Now, you'll notice this little JST plug. Well, I think it's a good time now to get into the crash resistance of this foam. I'll pick up on that JST adapter later. Now the durability, as you can see, the landing gear, one, I was landing on grass anyway, so I didn't need it, but I tried to land on some dirt and it fell right out. More my fault than its, but it's not a very rugged landing gear at all, and I'd recommend, even if you're going to land on really short grass, I would recommend getting bigger tires, because it will just roll over right on its front. You can see here some cracks in the foam. That actually happened when I was flying in that 18-mile-an-hour wind, and I wasn't very experienced. And I went to make a turn, and I stalled it, and the wind literally blew me sideways into a pole. You can hear the battery charger beeping off in the distance. That's telling me that the lipo for this plane is done, as I just got in from a night flight. But again, durability, I mean, I've nosedived this thing from 25 feet, and you can see the seam of epoxy. I really beefed up the nose, and where it hit the telephone pole, or rather the flag pole, I put a little splint of a paint stick in there, and then glued it all back in. This thing's gotten some pretty beefy upgrades to it. This control horn actually broke out of the box. I tightened the connector down too much, and it broke it. So I just made a impromptu one with a big bead of epoxy, and it's holding on well. Up here, I just put epoxy all over it. Same with all of these, just to keep them from coming out, and if they did break, I would still have something to fall back on. I've had no problem with the servos. They're pretty quick. I mean, for RTS servos, they have good power, good range of motion, good smooth fluid controls. I have no complaints about them. Now, to get on to what I've done to this thing. The roll response wasn't quite what I liked, so I took a bit of thin plastic, but it's still really, you can hear it. It doesn't really bend back at all, as you can see. It doesn't really bend back. I chose some thin, stiff plastic for that. And I just used a little bit of hot glue to put them on there, a trim tab on each aileron. And now the roll rate is a lot snappier, and in the sky, You can see, you can't really even see them. You can see them inside, obviously, because I've got my lighting on, but you really can't tell when you're flying the thing. And this is 4 feet away from the camera. Imagine it being 40 plus. And also, you can see that was an encounter with a tree, but a really good dent in the foam, so I just used some tape and taped right over the little hole. See right there, there was a hole. Right, let's see, if you hold it up to the light, you can see the really big hole. I put some tape over that, and that made a nice edge again. That's from some bushwhacking. That's from some more bushwhacking. Other than that, though, the front decals, they came off in the first few landings in grass. I don't know if that's normal or not, but they did. And you can see there's all kinds of nicks and imperfections in this thing. It's been run through its course. And it's a tough little booger. I mean, if you just got some epoxy or even hot glue for certain parts, you can just fly that. You can just take right back off. I mean, I've had no problems with this thing as far as durability goes. Now, for modifications. A few things I've done, and the one that you probably noticed first, is this rubber band on the wing. No, that's not to hold them together. I have other means of doing that. Unfortunately, it's done its job so well that I'm not sure I can get them apart without breaking the wings. Except for this one. This one has come loose. I need to fix it. As you can see, this one's come loose. Now, this rubber band. What this is perhaps the coolest thing about this building. So I can show you. That was nice. Good camera work. Alright, maybe I can't set the camera down, but I can set the plane down. You see that rubber band. I wanted a drop rig, and for the time being, I don't have a radio. I've got a 7-channel Okira Diva 7 coming in, because I'm also getting some of their multi-rotors and helicopters. So I wanted a drop rig based off of the same 4-channel remote. So what I did was I just took this rubber band, and the control horn is a double-sided one on the rudder, and I hooked that up because you could fly this thing with just ailerons and elevator. And now, if you turn rudder left, I don't know which way that goes. Yeah, it goes this way. It plays upside down. You can see it pulls that over, and off it goes. It works first time, every time. I love it. And I can drop all kinds of things, like say, oh, I don't know, say a balsa wood bomb. It's pretty fun to drop. Anywho, continuing on. I also have other bombs for that. That's just one that I had sitting right next to me. Now, you probably also noticed this plastic sheet that I have over it here is actually the same. It's not quite the same, but it's almost the same as this stuff. It's just a bit more pliable. Let's get you out of the light there. It's just a bit more pliable than this. And I actually just hot glued it because I didn't feel like waiting. I know, boo. But I didn't feel like waiting and having to clamp it down, so I just hot glued it on. And that just protects the bottom, because you could see it was getting etched and smeared and smudged. So I just glued this on there. And same thing back here on the little tail nub. I did the same thing, and that protects it a lot better now from all sorts of things. And another thing that I did, well, there's really not too many other things I did, except another thing you probably noticed. I've got lights. Now, very crudely done, mainly for proof of concept. You can see you got green on the left, rather green on right, red on left, as per standard. And let's set you guys real quick. I've got to go get the battery for the light system to show you how that works. Great job, you really prepared this video well, didn't you? Yeah, shut up. Alright, here's the battery for that. Little tiny 600 milliamp hour 20C LiPo. And while I was over there, I grabbed the battery for the plane off the charger. This is the one that comes with it. As you can see, 1800 milliamp hour, 3 cell, 15C LiPo. But of course your standard balance connector, and the same banana style plugs that come with the ESC. This little bugger will power these lights for about half an hour, so I have no problem using it. Now you'll see an increase in light. Let me get this plugged in while holding it onto a camera. Whoa, it's blue. Wait, where'd the blue come from? Alright, well in here, the death-causing the bright lights that you can see going through there are actually for the holiday season. I took a little LED strand of Christmas lights, so you can see. They're just little LED strands. And I took them, a 30 count strand, and put them in the same in parallel rather to the nav lights, which are just average Christmas lights. Talk about cheap. So you can see they work quite nicely. You can see up from the front, bottom, back, and when you're in a bank turn from the ground, you can even see them through the tips of the wings. You can see that you can't actually see the light bulb, but it glows through. Now these get stranded behind, as I said, for the holiday season to be more festive. They're on there for the season. They're really, really, really bright. They're actually quite fun to watch flying through the air. Alright, so that hurries that up. You'll also see on my channel some nighttime flight footage of this plane with these lights on it. I'll go ahead and unplug them. You'll see that on my channel. And as for this battery, I've had no problems with it. It has dropped about 30 milliamp hours throughout the entire course, and that's an RTF battery. I mean, and this thing has at least 20 or 30 charges on it. Charges and discharges, cycles. The canopy, as you can see, has seen better days. That came from when I hit the flagpole. It came down, landed upside down on a bush, and well, the twigs from the bush went right through it. That's until I added magnets to the front, so that it literally just snaps right in. And again, check my channel for more flight footage of this thing, both from the ground, actually not from the ground yet. I need to do that. I need to find someone who will be willing to film. And what you will find, though, is a bunch of flight footage from this plane itself. And if you enjoyed this video and my stupidity, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I mean, it helps everyone, right? It helps you. You get to see more of my content, whether you want to go and call it horrible or actually watch it because you enjoy it. Don't lie. Whichever one you want to do, you can go ahead and hit subscribe. Give a thumbs down if you liked it. Give a thumbs down if you didn't. And don't forget to criticize me. And there's a comment section for a reason. I won't fail to reply, unless you're just being mean. In which case, you know, I may just block you from the channel. But there's no need to be mean in this hobby. As always, find more RC channel. More RC stuff on my channel, rather. As well as some more horribly done reviews, due to me forgetting what I'm supposed to say when I'm supposed to say it. And here that does it for me for now, with the Dynam Hawk Sky. Stay tuned, as I will hopefully be reviewing, come Christmas, the Diva 7 radio, and the RX 701 receiver to go along with it, the Walkira Spacewalker, QR Spacewalker, Octocopter, a SEMA S107G, which if you haven't seen a review for those by now and you're actually on this channel, you must be new to YouTube and to the RC community, in which case it's perfectly fine. But I mean, there are literally thousands of reviews for that thing. It's a fun little copter. I, however, am getting the red, white, and blue limited edition run. And also, within that batch, I'll be getting a bunch of parts, upgrades, and pieces for the Slash, the Hawk Sky, the QR8, all sorts of things. So, hang tight for those reviews. This Christmas should be really fun. Anywho, that does it for me for now. As always, have a good day.